Hey, Bob, I might throw you something.
Here we go.
All right.
Thanks for joining us today for Master Coach's Wednesday Weekly Buzz and our after show Buzz Reaction. I'm Ruth Nelson, joined by Hall of Famers Mick Haley, Bob Bertucci, and Brian Gimolero, bringing you the most current issues and trends in volleyball. Our weekly news show has leaders in our sport provide their perspective on the questions that are asked, along with the discussions on topics that are current and ones that are affecting all of us. Our news flash: Market Price is a marketplace that connects brands and athletes, has raised a $3 million seed round as competition grows to meet new NIL opportunities. They currently have 1,300 athletes and over 300 brands on their platform. Launched in 2020, Market Price is one of the many startups targeting the 500,000 college athletes, and it is estimated that there are already 18 companies focused on NIL partnerships. Jackson Lewis PC launches new Title IX training series with 7 modules to help higher education institutions meet annual Title IX team training obligations and promote best practices in addressing sexual misconduct allegations. Check it out. And recently, their Lead One Forum had an interview with Executive Director, NFHS, that's National Federation High School, and North Carolina Chapel Hill soccer head coach, and Alexandria City Public School Director of Athletics on, guess what? NIL and the impact on high school sports participation. Registration is open for 2021 AVCA convention in Columbus, Ohio, December 15th to the 18th. Jump over to avcaconvention.org to register. Today, our guests come from 2 conferences, guess what, that are not part of the Power 5. However, both of these head coaches are going to share valuable information, how they have been building their programs in order to be recognized in the top 20 ranking, top of their conference, and how to maintain these rankings. Before we head over to Austin, Texas, with former Olympic coach Mick Haley, who will introduce our guest today, let's not forget to reach out to those colleges and universities that need our support during the recovery of Hurricane Ida. Now to you, Mick.
Thank you, Ruth. It's really a pleasure to introduce Molly Alvey, Molly Alvey, a head coach at the University of Cincinnati, who's just been doing a bang-up job at directing that program, and 6-year coach Tim Nolan at Grand Canyon University, who's got the same idea in building a program as Molly, trying to get into the top 20 here, and both in conferences that are not Power 5 conferences. I had a couple of ideas coming on you two that I wanted to throw at you, but it's interesting for our viewers to know that you two are from schools that are distinctly different in a couple of ways. Molly, your school is a basketball football school, but better known for the Big O and Jordan Thompson, I think. And I'm an Indiana high school basketball person, so that's how I know Big O went to school there, Oscar Robinson. Tim, you're a basketball school, basically. And I looked at your conferences and I figured out in my own mind that I've got this all solved for you. I really think to get going here, Tim, you need to get in with Gonzaga in that group, or you need to go with Creighton and Marquette in that group, since ESPN is locating all the schools for the most good possible production in making money in college sports. And Molly, I like the idea of about 5 or 6 year schools going with the Big 12 and being immediately Power 5, so that you don't have to be Power 6. But that wasn't what I was going to ask you. Bob's going to ask you about that stuff down the road. I want to know, both of you have been assistant coaches before for 13 years each. Tim, you were with Nina Matthews at Pepperdine, who not only coached indoor but beach. And Molly, you had the distinction of being with Bob Bertucci in one of your stays out at Temple. That will be interesting to hear about that. But both of you had 13 years experience as assistant coaches. So let me ask you, what does it take to be a good assistant coach, and what do you look for in assistant coaches? Because I had a chance to work with Tim for 9 years, and I know the coaches that have worked that had you in their programs, Molly, speak extremely highly of you. So how do you now turn that around, and what do you look for when you hire assistant coaches?
Yeah, immediately it's work ethic. I think having someone understand the grind that it takes at this level is no question. Loyalty is probably evenly equal with work, because the loyalty is everything. We don't work a normal, as you all know, it's not a normal schedule. It's not a normal life. It's all intrusive. Your home life is your work life. Your work life is your home life. We don't shut our phones off at any time. And so the people that are close to you, you really, they're in it. And so the loyalty, I think, is really essential. And the third piece is, as to be a really great assistant, your main role is to uphold the head coach's philosophy, culture, and to be the bridge between the players and the head coach, not for yourself, but for the head coach. Your job is to make the head coach successful. Your job is to help the players understand that it's the head coach's program, and here's the philosophy, and here's the culture that they expect. And whether you might agree with a starting lineup or disagree with the starting lineup, or agree with a practice plan or disagree with the practice plan, it doesn't matter. When you leave the room as coaches, you're 100% in support of the head coach, and you make sure that the players understand that. I think that's critical to a program's success.
Tim, can you add to that? Or if you don't agree, can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think loyalty is huge. The one thing I have learned that when hiring staff is that you try and find a balance. I don't want people just like me, and I certainly don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So I try and hire to my blind spots with people that are going to be loyal to me and our staff and our university. And I think that's a really big deal. Every staff has different ways they do things. Every coach has different, trends or philosophies, and everyone's got to understand the hierarchy. At the end of the day, the head coach has the final say, but I want people who are going to challenge me in rooms with scouting reports and ideas and training ideas, so that they fill out my blind spots, because no one's perfect. I still learn stuff every day. So I think that's a big piece of it.
So one last thing, very quickly, because we've got other coaches want to ask you questions about other things. Both of you put in 13 years as assistants before you got your first head coaching assignments. Do you feel that's about the right time to be an assistant, or does time not matter? Or was there just that's the way it worked out for each of you? Molly, you want to start with that?
Yeah. I'm actually flipped. I was 13 years head coach.
Oh,
so
sorry.
That's okay. I spent 3 years, because I think this will answer it in a different way but help with to your question. It will help with the question too. I spent 3 years with Bob at Temple before I took my first head coaching job at University of Southern Indiana, which is a Division II school, and in a fantastic volleyball program. It's just a really great program, good history. And I certainly didn't know anything, and that's okay. I think there's nothing wrong with that, because I learned a lot from that too, from that experience, and then left University of Southern Indiana and went to Ole Miss as an assistant coach for 5 years before I left for Houston. So I think, I learned so much with my experience at Temple, but then even shifting into a head coach, going back to an assistant coach, I think a little bit to build on what Tim said, you always have to, no matter what role you're in, of always being open to learning, and that knowing that the game is always evolving. The players that we get are always evolving. Our teams are different from year to year, and being able to learn. So I think in every experience that I've had, I've learned a ton. And that's something I have to remind myself now. This is my 10th year at UC, to keep knowing and staying fresh that there's always room to grow. So a lot of different experiences that have helped me where I am now.
So Tim, you were a head coach of boys high school, head coach of girls club before you became assistant. What's your thought about that?
For me, it was just the timing and kind of how it worked out. I felt at all my stops at Pepperdine, and then when I left to join your staff, and that run we had, I felt like I had more to do or still more to learn, and so I really enjoyed where I was at, and I didn't have this burning need to be like, I have to be the first chair. I didn't need to move that one chair to the right. I just didn't have that burning urge, and then I think finally towards the end of that run, I felt like I was ready. I think everyone's different. I just knew, unfortunately, with you around so much, I realized how much I didn't know. But I just felt like I finally had a good enough grasp, and we had accomplished some of the goals that when I joined your staff initially that I wanted to accomplish. And so for me, it was just the timing of it kind of felt right. But I don't know. I don't think I could have left early, after 2 or 3 years with you and felt like I had accomplished what I wanted to accomplish at USC. And B, like I said, just having you in the room every day, I kept feeling like I had so much more to learn.
Well, thanks, Tim. Bob Bertucci has got some really good questions here because he wants to talk about you guys going now, being head coaches and going forward and in conferences, trying to get in the top 20. Bob, what do you got for us?
Oh, I'm gonna start with Molly. Molly, you hear about the Power Five, as Ruth mentioned when she first came on, introducing the show. But I've heard the AAC talking about the Power Six. I don't know if that's something that's just happening with coaches in that conference that they talk about it, or are you really thinking that your conference is that next conference that's going to make that jump to that Power Five, or do you see possibly that conference splitting up? I mean, Cincinnati could go anywhere. They could go to they're like in the middle of the country. I mean, they could go any one of these conferences, maybe even geographically better than where they are right now. What's your thoughts on it?
Right. I've been through the conference thing a lot. When I was at Houston, it happened there too. And I've definitely learned to just wait until they tell you what happens, because no matter what you guess, you think, you can say that it pivots and changes by the hour sometimes. So it's easy to get caught up in it until they tell me what we're doing. It's hard to listen to any of it. I think Cincinnati's been in the conversation even before I got here, as far as just TV network and the amount of viewers that we have as a city and the potential there. And then obviously, a lot of this is predicated on football. I mean, that's the number one source because it's about money, and our football program is certainly been tremendous. And even, you look at the head coach is just a huge asset for us. And then of course, men's basketball is next. So I don't know, certainly we're a proud member of the American, and when all the things fall into their spots, then we'll know. It's hard to answer or even guess because there's so many moving parts to it.
I think it was interesting that we heard a lot about it near the end of the summer, and then it's crickets now. You don't hear anything. So
Right.
Have you heard anything as being part of one of those schools that are always being talked about, or do you just kind of shut that down and don't pay any attention to it?
I try to shut it down because, like I said, it's not worth getting into it because it does change so much. I mean, it's even down to our political figures get involved with that, our state representatives and stuff, in general, anybody that's involved with it. And I have heard, you'll hear people say, hey, when it's crickets, and that means something's going on. So I don't know, maybe something is now stirring. I don't know.
All right. Well, how do you think it affects the players, and how does it affect you recruiting? I mean, you got to be thinking of it from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's definitely a recruiting, piece. It's big in that. And I think what I've tried how I've tried to position our program and what we've done as a staff is we're going to schedule around that. So in order to be, the best and be in the top, you got to play the best. So that's how I schedule every year. So if recruits want to get into a discussion about conference or, perceptions of it, then I say, hey, look at our schedule. So if you want to play the best, come here. We're going to play the best. We're going to put ourselves in position to be a top 25 program. And that's how we attack that conversation. We also show our conference RPI because from year to year, we're anywhere 6, 7 in the country and sometimes above some of those Power 5 conferences. So we use the conference RPI too to showcase what all of our teams are doing, because I think that's how you get better too. The teams together in the conference have to work to elevate perception, where you are as a conference, what everybody's doing scheduling, and then who can pick up those matches and win some of them too. It's about winning. So I think we can help each other as conference members to showcase, how talented we are.
Well, does the AAC have any strategy for their, scheduling with the RPI, because, or at least voting?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe anybody in your conference got ranked as one of the top 25.
Right.
So is everybody just fending for themselves, or have you guys got a strategy here?
I think we have a scheduling philosophy that is similar to some other conferences around the country that we've put together as, some subcommittees as coaches. I think we can get better at that. How do you maybe doing more evaluation at the end of the year? What worked, what didn't? How can we get better at scheduling? So I think as a conference, we can always grow and be better in that sense. So we do have a philosophy that I think can help us for sure.
Well, let me jump to Tim for a second. Tim, we want to examine the WAC, but since we're talking about, RPI and scheduling strategies, what's your philosophy on it? I mean, I don't believe your schedule shows that you're playing, USC and UCLA or Penn State. I mean, so how do you feel about it? And what's the WAC doing in that regard?
Yeah, a couple things. Well, so the WAC just expanded this year. It's our first year. We added a bunch of schools that used to be in the old Southland Conference, notably Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston State, which is going to help bolster our RPI. We're now in division, so we don't play everyone in the whole league. So we ended up playing what we call pods. So we're going to cross over. So we have all the teams that were last year in the top 100 RPI playing one pod as the crossover. So that includes ourselves, New Mexico State, Utah Valley, Stephen F. Austin, and Sam Houston. And so we'll play across divisions with each other. And then we have the middle group, and then we have the lower group. And by doing that, we think that we can help pull the entire conference RPI up. So because you have the top schools all playing the top schools. So we're not going to drop our RPI because we're crossing over and playing the lower end of that division. But the other part about it, quite honestly, is I think the RPI is flawed. I mean, it's, I could play SC, Penn State, Stanford, but then when I play my conference schedule, I'm going to get penalized because I have to play teams in my league. So for me, we're scheduling A to hit recruiting grounds because at the end of the day, it's about winning matches, winning conference tournament, getting into the NC2A tournament and winning matches. So a big piece of our scheduling is going to areas of the country that we have traction recruiting and playing in front of those crowds and showing them our brand of volleyball. I think we play good volleyball. I think, if you look at some of our matches over the weekend, we're super young. We start 2 true freshmen. We only have 1 senior that's able to play this year at all. And yet we're still able to, we had a couple sets where we're hitting, 15 for 32 with no hitting errors. So we're developing our brand of volleyball, and we want to make sure we're showcasing that in the areas that we're recruiting from. The other part of it too is I have a heck of a time getting people to come play us. We're having to pay out bigger and bigger guarantees just to get matches at home. A lot of people play me at their place. Nobody's going to play me at my place.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in that in-between spot where nobody wants to take the chance of playing you at home. Well, I'm gonna let it go to Brian, and maybe he can pick up a little bit on the conference, because we want to talk a little bit more about the conference, and he's even more familiar with the WAC than I am. And then he'll want to talk to Molly also about her team a little bit. So Brian, why don't you go ahead and ask some of your questions?
I don't know anything about the WAC. It changes every week.
Love it.
I think, can you name the teams, Tim, in the WAC? I don't, it goes on all the time. By the way, I just wanted to say that after 32 years of not being in a Power Five conference, I didn't care. Your job is to out train, out practice, and when the ball goes up, you got as equal opportunity to score every time the ball goes up. So I didn't really care. The Power Five conferences trying to put you in your place. Don't listen. They're telling you, this is how know your place. You're not in the fraternity of schools, so yeah, the hell with that. Don't put that. You go. You guys are both good. You're both good. You're excellent. You're experienced. You produce great players. The heck with that. So, but anyway,
We hit a nerve.
yeah, heck with that. And by the way, Tim, I do want to respond, and Mick knows about this, is one year we went down 10 RPI positions, 10, by winning 8 matches, 3-0. We kept going, getting worse. And
Yeah,
that's
how dare
because
you?
they were in our conference and they were bad teams. Yeah, the RPI is more than flawed. I used to say, can we forfeit those games? Will they not count? Anyway, Molly, I wanted to. How old are your children?
5, 3, and 1.
Yeah, this is not one of our questions that was scheduled, but can you respond to women who are thinking about going in the sport and being a mom and managing that? Can you say something about that?
That's a great question for this time frame right now, because boy, we are in the thick of it, and it's definitely challenging. And I think, I'm lucky that I coach with my husband, and I often think, if I didn't, what would that look like? And I think the support system around it is critical. And it's support from your university is one piece, but to have support from your partner is essential. Because it's difficult. It's certainly challenging. And I think if, I have a spouse, so that works with me. So there's a different level of trust as far as training. And if there's times that I have to be away, so it would be the spouse support. And then also going back to the assistant coaching that Tim and I both talked about before, of having the right people in place, because you are going to be pulled in both directions. It's just inevitable. You will be.
Is he the one that's usually wrong? Is he the one that makes all the mistakes? Tim, let's talk a little bit about your team itself. Tell us a little bit about your team this upcoming season and let everybody know.
Yeah, we have the returning setter of the year in the conference in Claire Mitchell. We run a real fast tempo. I think we're the best serve and pass team, hands down, and we're constantly work on getting just a little bit bigger on the pin. We're starting a true freshman left and a true freshman right. My freshman left hit 305 on the weekend and was the Western Athletic Freshman of the Week. My freshman right, I think she hit 290, was second on our team in points. So we're figuring it out. Our brand of volleyball is we're going to put a lot of pressure from the service line. Tegan DeFalco is our senior libero, and I think she had 7 aces in one match this weekend. She's really able to put pressure on people, and we like to run fast. And I think we defend really well. Mick just always beating me. You got defense wins championships, so we spend a lot of time defending the ball and working on transition offense.
Yeah, the game is played way above the net and won just before the floor, right?
That's absolutely right.
And Molly, what about your team?
We're pretty young as well. I think we have some young emerging bodies that are really talented. We had a middle blocker from just outside of Columbus, Abby Walker, that is just an unbelievable athlete. I mean, she is dominating at the net, and I think just really great composure. It's hard to come in as a freshman and perform right away. Even the ones that we know are really talented, you really don't know until you get them there and put them up in front of competition. And we played a very good Dayton team this weekend, a Texas State team that's getting top 25 votes, and then the reigning champ, which was not on purpose, in Kentucky. They won that national championship after we finished the schedule, but I have no problem playing them. But to think a freshman like that and put them in the face of those three teams is really unbelievable. We have a returning outside Maria Mallon from Michigan that's just a stud, and she's a 5'8" stud. So like you said, it's played way above the net, but before the ball hits the ground, it's one, and her ball control is what makes her fantastic. She can score points and has a heavy arm, but she really has the ability to ball control and keep us in system. And overall in the middle, we have a ton of arms. I think our depth this year is more than we've ever had. So it's fun, but challenging because it makes for tough decisions, so we're talking to them on a daily basis of, you have to be the ones to tell us and force us to put your name on that lineup, because at any given moment we have some talented bodies out there.
The good news is they're freshmen. The bad news is they're freshmen. Tim, please say hello to Claire for me. I love the girl. Good luck, both of you, for the season. It's nice to see teams on the rise, and I'm turning it over to Ruth.
Okay,
Thanks, Brian.
again, these three guys.
Here we go. Here,
1 minute.
we're gonna listen
You
to it
wasted
again.
all your time complaining. Get to it.
Hey, you want me to put you on mute? Okay. I'm not going to ask my questions because we're going to keep these guys on as we go into our commercial break a little early, and then we'll jump back on. So if Tim and Molly have agreed to stay on, I'm going to jump into our normal, and then I'll start out with my first question. And it's always best to be the first person to ask the question, not the last. All right, there we go. Hall of Famers with years of success bring you drills across all positions, teaching keys for all ages and ability, offensive and defensive strategies. Take advantage of the Master Coaches Stream 18 full-length on-demand video series by heading over to our Instagram, VB Master Coaches, on our website, volleyballmastercoaches.com, and you can register for all 18 video training packages hosted by Coaches Insider. You missed one of our shows, jump over to Instagram and click on our YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Volleyball Master Coaches, Instagram and Twitter, VB Master Coaches. A special shout out to all of those over 88 guests, and now have reached up to almost 100, including some that have come on twice. And we want to make a special thank you to Baden Sports SNA. Want to make a difference? Please remember to renew your AVCA membership. This one organization that represents all coaches at all levels when lobbying for changes that are needed in our sport. And you can make a difference by registering at avca.org. Stay on Facebook Live after John closes today, and we'll hear Master Coaches. We're going to continue our conversation with our extended buzz. Now, let's go to our Buzz and Buzz Reaction digital partner, Dr. John Foreman, who will update us on his most recent project.
Oh, thanks, Ruth. Most recent project is getting through preseason, and hopefully now that things have normalized and we're in the regular season, I can get some editing work done on the Wizard Women edition of the Volleyball Coaching Wizard series. So with that, hopefully everything is going to transition smoothly and we'll be able to carry on.
All right. For those joining us for Buzz Reaction for the first time, today we will begin an extended buzz due to Bob, Brian, and Mick talking almost the whole time, and I get to ask my first question on the Buzz Reaction.
Well, before you do that, Ruth, I want you to see that my background's been switched to Buzz Reaction.
You know
I'm
what?
the only one that did that.
Well, you know what? You should get, you know what? You'll get a positive reinforcement from me by me giving you a Buzz Reaction tap. Okay, there's your tap.
Okay.
All right.
Now I ask you a question.
Ruth, have you ever had an extended buzz reaction?
Hey, listen, you know what? This is an extended Buzz Reaction every Monday when we meet, the three of you and me. All right, so Tim, Molly, let's get you back in this. Molly is just having a hoot. All right, I have to go back and I have to say this. First of all, Tim, you survived Mick, and Molly, you survived Bob. And now you have to survive the NIL. So please, let's go first to Tim, since you responded first that you could stay on a little more. What is your feeling about NIL with 18 companies? You've got everybody trying to do all this at all levels. What's your reaction to this and how engaged are you and your school in this?
Well, first off, I'd like you to know there is a club of distinguished people who have worked for Mick who all like to say we all survived. Okay.
We know the feeling now. We're starting to understand it.
Yeah, you guys are starting to appreciate how resilient I am now.
Okay, I raised my thumb in my screen for that.
But in terms of NIL, I think, our university is certainly looking at it. I think that it is an unprecedented time for student athletes. And I don't know that it's going to be as lucrative as some people think. And I think there'll be some, I think volleyball players will have opportunities for sure. I know there are, companies coming forward trying to reach out and connect with athletes and figure out ways, and the athletes are certainly trying to figure out ways to monetize it. Some have no interest, some that's all they want to talk about. So I think that, our university is doing a good job. We have hired kind of a firm that's going to help our athletes when they get to that point of negotiating and making sure, they stay within the rules, because there still are rules. There actually has to be a service provided that the athlete gives to receive that compensation. So I think, GCU is kind of on the forefront of that, and they've done all sorts of education for athletes. They've put on seminars, brought in speakers, trying to help our athletes put their best foot forward and showcase themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What it's going to look like, I don't know. We're all kind of waiting to see how it shapes and morphs and shifts. I think we'll know, honestly, a lot more in the next 6 months.
Okay, what do you feel your role is in this?
I think my role is to help educate my athletes, and make sure if before they get into a partnership, that they're using me as a sounding board and a resource. And hey, what is that going to look for you like in 10 years? What's that going to look like on your resume? Is that something that you really want to build and pursue? Or, hey, that is a great opportunity. Maybe you can tie it into this. And so we have a panel at GCU that can help with that, along obviously with my staff. And I think it's my job to help my athletes. I do. And I think it's the athlete's job to make sure that their NIL pursuits are not taking away from the team and the team's effort.
Okay, so the last part of that would be, do you have players right now that are engaged in agreements already and doing their NIL with companies?
No formal agreements yet. We have players that are in negotiations.
Okay, all right, that's excellent. Okay, Molly.
I think I agree. I don't know what it's going to look like. I think there's so many different forms. I immediately saw it as being more influencers type, social media influencers. For the mass majorities, I think there's going to be a very small percentage that are going to make a ton of money. So influencers, and I thought more of like camps, clinics, like they don't have to go through a whole process with the universities to worry about camps and clinics. So that's what I saw immediately. We also hired a company endorsed to work with our department and have done a ton of education. I think my only fear too would just be locking themselves into some sort of contractual commitment that they don't understand by just trying to hurry up and do something to jump on the bandwagon. So I really have worked to try to prevent that. Don't want them to take away from what maybe they could earn by getting into a bad contract. And I think too, I'm not sure, I think we have to continue to educate too on, hey, this isn't just a making money. You're going to have to open your own LLC. You're going to have to pay taxes. You're going to have to, there's a whole nother side to it. It's not just about making money. Right. And we all know that athletes at this age too, any student at this age, we see right in front of them and this far side to side. So just helping them see bigger picture. And if they are going to do it, to take advantage of it in the right way. But I think it's great that they have these opportunities to do it.
Okay, for you, do you have any players that are right now that are have NILs with anyone?
We do, and they've ranged from anyone that uses this code, you get a kickback on the code. So maybe it's just sharing it with family and friends, things like that. Some that have received product to be able to share the product. So it's kind of all different range.
So nothing that's really been like team-wise across the board locally that people can go eat at the barbecue place if they do this, this, and this.
Not that mm-mm,
Not yet. Okay,
no.
well, that's good. All right, so the last question I have, and since I get to ask the first one, is tell me, what is the most memorable thing that you received from Mick and Bob that has helped you become much more successful as a head coach? Oh boy, you're gonna have to think. Should we come back tomorrow?
No,
Well,
no,
I'm
because
just trying to think of how much I want to throw Mick to the wolves here. I mean,
It's okay. They're getting this. That's why I'm asking this question.
for me, I think, having two mentors, Mick and Nina, that saw the game so differently. I got to kind of take what I like from both and try and make the game my own. Mick was so stat based on his, with his international experience and his Olympic experience, and just really teaching me how to break the game down in, with data volley and data project and the numbers, and to use those to guide you, that you can't always just rely on your gut feeling, because your gut can lie to you. You get caught up in the moment and you think player X is just, she's really not doing it well. And you look at the stats, you're like, oh, she's actually hitting 350. She just hit that one ball out. So I think that's part of it. And the other part of it that Mick, I think, really hit home for me, that we do in our staff, is being a forward thinker and planning out. We have our schedule planned out through the spring already, and our recruiting trips, and we're looking 16 to 18 months down the line where we want to be and what we want to be doing. And then we work backwards to make sure we're doing the things we have to do to get there, kind of reverse engineering it, but just looking so far forward. And, I really didn't like him for that during COVID, when I had to throw that entire thing away and start over. But I think it's the best way to do it. It's kept us ahead in the recruiting game, where we're out recruiting some Power Fives for kids. It's kept us, ahead on our training phase, making sure we're getting to where we want to get to on time to give ourselves the best chance to win.
Okay, the second part of it. What was the funniest thing that ever happened when you were on his coaching staff that you can tell live?
All right. Well, we were in practice at Galen. This must have been 2012. We were pretty good that year. We lost in the regional final, but we were having a practice, and Natalie Hagelin was there. She was our All-American libero, and Mick was kind of chewing on the A side, because we'd given up 2 aces in a row on serve receive, and he was walking backwards, waving his hands like this, and he stepped on a ball and fell flat on his back and continued to yell from the ground. And Hagelin looked at me and just lost it. And Mick is still laying into him. We've got to move our feet. We've got to, push and rebalance, from flat on his back. And finally he looked over and he saw the entire gym was doubled over laughing, and he started laughing.
Okay, that's good. Molly, you had to have been thinking, okay, tell us the most important things that you learned from Bob, and then we're going to go to the funny story.
Okay. I
Very
think
good.
because I learned a lot. I mean, I was young and immediately went to Bob, but I think discipline, I learned a lot of. For Bob, it was very simple. Things were, volleyball wise, were black and white. You play the game the right way. And I know everyone has different systems, but for what the system was for Temple, you play the game the right way. And it made volleyball very simple for me. I understood it, and I understood the discipline part. I connected and resonated with me really well. So I appreciated that. And I think it held athletes accountable, right? It's very clear you knew what you had to do in this role. So I think that was huge. And Bob has this way too of like, as I was a graduate assistant, but taking on the second assistant role. So I might've been slightly over my 20 hours per week. But all of a sudden I would be doing things and thinking, how the hell am I doing this? Like, Bob had a way of talking you into things where he wasn't really asking you something. He made it sound like he was asking you, but you had to commit to it. Like, you had no choice.
And
It's
we
like,
know that for sure.
how did this happen? I absolutely do not want to do this, but I don't really think that I had a choice. So that was, I try to work that where I can with other staff members, but I'm definitely not as good at it as he is at all.
Yeah, I think those two have a gift for that. I mean,
Yeah.
Mick talked me into a midweek flight to Turkey before a match to come back and go straight to the match because it was just a
Yeah.
good idea.
Right. And in the moment you're in it, right? And then afterwards you're like, no way. What was I thinking?
How did he talk me into this?
Okay,
Right.
so Molly, that's your funny story or that's the truth?
That's the truth.
Oh, I thought that was the funny story.
Oh my gosh, that's the truth.
Okay, what's
I
your
can
funny
still
story?
have nightmares about those things. Bob's calling. That's a good thing. It made me a good coach.
All right, what's the funny thing that you remember?
I
One of them.
don't know. I have to. We had more like funny experiences together because our staff was good, and I think I can tell this story because he's no longer in coaching. He hasn't been coaching in a long time, but our other assistant coach, unbelievable player, person, great heart, like just a really great guy. But I'll tell you what, we should have written a book while he was with us on the staff. So one trip we go away, and I don't know, like I often look back and think, oh my gosh, if I were in Bob's shoes, how did he do this? So Bob, I scheduled the hotels. So Bob always wanted, hey, listen, it has to have steam room or sauna, like one of those things, like don't even come ask me, steam room or sauna, it's got to have it. So we go to, I think this one was a sauna. We go to it and there's a up front, and our assistant coach walks in with like European swimsuit, you know, of what we thought. You're like, wow, that's a very large human being in some little buns. So you don't think anything of it, but he then proceeds to tell us that he accidentally picked up the wrong bottoms and they were his wife's bottoms. And I am like, I couldn't believe it. And Bob, it doesn't even faze him. This is one of many stories. Doesn't even faze him. He's like, oh, okay. You know, and he moves on. And I'm thinking, oh, there's this 6'11" man in a pair of women's bottoms. And Bob just lets it roll right off and keeps moving. And I think, I don't even know what I would do in that situation. And there were countless situations like that, but he was fantastic with it. And we laugh about it now. And that assistant coach laughed as well. So you remember that, Bob.
Oh, I do.
Okay, so we
Unfortunately,
haven't,
that picture is just burned into my memory.
okay, so Brian, since you didn't get to be engaged and be roasted by these two, what's your last, we have a couple more minutes. These guys have committed these extra minutes for us. You have anything you want to talk to Tim and Molly?
No, I'm just listening. I just want you to know that none of my assistants have any stories like
He's
that.
speechless is what he is.
No, we know
There was
that's very green.
nothing I ever did embarrassing,
Oh,
that it was embarrassing, and nothing I ever did was out of the ordinary. I was,
okay, so Molly, you and Tim, you have your there's last 2 minutes on the show. You can ask anyone anything. You each will get a minute
wow.
and they have to answer. Now, I didn't
Yes,
say how they
yes or
answer.
no, yes or no question.
No, yes or no. Okay, Molly, let's go to you first.
Okay, so I think, and so Mick, this will be for you because I think this is, you know, everyone talks about, oh, different generation of player, but that could be said for however many years over the years, right? I think that's always something that's changing, evolving, whatever. So we deal with our, you know, as coaches across the board, not volleyball coaches, but coaches across the country with a lot of anxiety, depression, fear of not being perfect, you know, all these extra add-ons that they have. How would you coach today's athlete to get them to perform the way they need to perform, right? Because I think of even my experience with Bob, like I said, it's very direct. This is what you need to do. This is what you don't need to do. But how do you coach today's athlete knowing that there's all those extra components to it? Because I do think it has shifted.
Well, I think the one thing that seems obvious to me is you can't use the word no, ever. You have to figure out how to talk around things because if you use the simple no, we are not doing that, or you cannot do that, it just explodes on you. I've never seen anything like it with these younger kids, how they don't handle that well. You know, when we grew up, we used to get that regularly, so it didn't matter. But these kids don't hear the word no. So you really have to have your communication skills have to be extremely good. You have to be able to communicate in a way that you let them know you've heard what they said, and then you try to let them know what you think is the best answer to that situation.
Okay, Tim.
All right, Brian, how do we fix the RPI?
Oh,
Mhm.
Well, they have to clearly eliminate, if you win a mandatory match, that has to be eliminated. If you lose a mandatory match, then it has to be counted. But it can't count a mandatory match that takes your numbers down, that you win 3-0, cannot affect you negatively. Otherwise, it's certain conferences are always going to be higher than you, and it's not fair. You could be the best team in the nation and play the conference you both play and end up not even in the top 25 in your RPI by winning. So that has to be adjusted. That would be my adjustment. That's all.
What do you think, Tim, real quick, if we have time, Ruth, the
You go ahead.
50% of your RPI is your opponent's win percentage? I mean, do you think you should get more points for your own wins? I don't know. I mean, the RPI is just ridiculous to me. I
Well,
agree.
if I can add one more thing, there's a pretty good formula used for the chess players, worldwide chess players, and a pretty good formula used for these games. You know, the gaming, the kids that play the games, not kids anymore, but those gaming industry, it's such a money-making thing, and it's worldwide rankings that both of those have a better formula than the RPI. It needs to be investigated.
okay. So thank you, Molly and Tim, for staying extra.
Thanks,
Yeah.
you guys. It was great to have you on. Great to see you, and good luck this season.
Yeah, same for me.
And the last thing I would say is this: they are much better at responding on chat than the three master coaches that never respond, except Mick once in a while.
Did you want us to be on chat, Ruth?
That, Molly, you know what I do when he does that? I just don't even act like I hear him.
Hey, I am impressed that he knows there's a chat on here. I am very impressed with that.
Do not ask how many months.
Yeah.
Please do not.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I got to get ready to head down to practice, but all
Thanks, Tim.
right.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Get in there
Bye,
and beat
Tim.
some balls, you guys.
All
Yeah.
right. Bye, Molly.
Bye-bye.
See ya, Tim.
Oh, Molly, loving
Oh,
it.
man. You got your hands full. That's hilarious.
Oh,
Good
we
Lordy.
can't even.
Molly, she has 3 men to blame everything on, so we're always wrong, you know?
Yeah. Here's the one story that I didn't want to tell, because this is a true man
Oh, wait
thing.
a second.
Our
We're on
show.
live. We're on live.
Oh, we can't. Okay, well, all right.
No. We're on live.
Yeah, all right. Can't tell about Bob.
Yeah.
Send that one out after, though. Send it out. We need it.
It's a nice one. I just, we'll save it though for us, for our group.
Okay.
This was great. Thank you all very much. It was
Yeah.
All
awesome.
right,
Thanks,
Molly.
Molly.
Great,
All right, have a
great
good afternoon.
tournament last weekend. You guys looked really good. Nice battle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. All right, take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. You guys were just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
Hey, do you believe Nolan was on the balcony of a building?
No,
And looking up because his head was back like this all the time. I thought he was going to fall off that building into the city of Phoenix. I can't figure what angle he was at that at.
I was just about, I didn't want to say anything. I thought you might have said something because you know him a little better than I do. Now I would have said something to Molly, but
Well, I could have said, hey, be careful, you don't fall off that balcony.
then you would have really started Bob and Brian, and they would have really started going.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it was great. What a good collection of both of them, exactly opposite. And it's interesting, his West and his Southwest divisions, because I looked through those today, and I think there's there's 7 in each one, I believe. Yeah, and they play only in their pods, kind of like the ACC did during the springtime.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem for the way this is working. These schools, like Tim's schools, are basketball schools.
Uh-huh.
Okay. They're not engaged in football. So they're trying to get into that NC2A basketball tournament. That's where they're going to make their money. And their volleyball programs need to carry them. They're basketball volleyball schools, if you want to know the truth. If you look at the WAC, not the WAC, the WCC, the conference I was telling him I thought that they ought to be in as a basketball school, that is a volleyball basketball conference. And that's really cool to be in that kind of a situation. Or in the Big East, which is a volleyball basketball conference, because you've got Creighton, Marquette, Nova, St. John's, they're all UConn,
Basketball school.
and
yeah.
they're all playing volleyball at a high level, and they're all trying to get into the men's basketball tournament. So those are conferences that shouldn't be left out just because they're not in the Power 5 football deal. And Brian's right. You don't need to be Power 5 to win national championships. He can attest to that by physically have done it 2 or 3 times. On the other hand, Cincinnati is a great school to get into your conference if you're a football power. And ACC or the AAC and the Big 12 are now kind of Power 6 conferences because they've lost the Big 12 has lost Oklahoma and Texas for the most part. But I could see those schools picking up the city of Cincinnati, the city of Houston, the city of Memphis, the city of Orlando with UCF, the city of Tampa with South Florida. You add those cities to the Big 12 and you increase that to 16 and you go 14 pods, you've got a heck of a conference. You could rework the pods as Nolan's conference did for the power teams in one pod. You could do all kinds of different things, and the football would have a better chance of getting into the playoff system. So I think both of them would be better. Either the AAC has to absorb some more teams, or they have to split and their highest visible teams with good football have to go into the Big 12 if they can stay together or something like that. ESPN's responsible for all of this, in my opinion. They literally screwed the pooch on this by getting Oklahoma and Texas to jump from the Big 12 to the SEC.
Hey, before we close out, I really would like to jump to our new Stream 18 full-length series video program, and just wanted some of your feedback from you guys for the viewers.
Well, eventually this is going to be on our website, correct?
Yes, actually, you can jump over to the website, but just talk about some of the things that are in this. We have a few more minutes left.
Well, I like it. I like it a lot. And I think it's been really well done because you can jump on a 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute program here, and you can get about 6 important things to teach. I thought it was one of the best done. And, for this day and age, people don't want to spend 20, 30 minutes watching something. In 2 to 4 minutes, you can get the key things that to take back to your practice or to work with a kid on. I think it's a great program.
Okay. Bob or Brian?
Well, as long as we're on it, it's got to be good, right?
All right.
I'd say that was a great endorsement since it's the 4 of us. I think.
You got a thumbs up. Okay, you got
I
another
think
thumbs up.
Brian and Ruth and Bob and Mick are great, and they should all get in. Everybody should be involved.
Well, Bob, your kind of feedback on it?
Well, I think on the graphic you have there, Ruth, you kind of really explain the most important things. The key words I think are real critical to give a coach, some, the most important things to address in the skill. Drill development. We show a lot of different drills for teaching. All right, we're covering all the skills. I think your graphic kind of explains it right there. And I think that's what's really important, in that whole series.
I think the information is good for beginning coaches, advanced coaches, any level. I think there's so much information there that everybody would benefit, you know. If they spend a year using all this information, that's all they would need for a year. And then we'll do new ones and they can get involved next year. But there's an incredible amount of information.
Well, I think it addresses all those things that you guys have mentioned, but also for those that are in, elementary school. We had a session on BYOP. You got
Yep.
to see 10 and under kids. We had some middle school kids, and I think, of course, the high school and the college. And then with the new series that you guys came up with in regards to the offensive and defensive programs and strategies and just the theory behind it and feedback from the crowd. I mean, I think that that's really important. And the fact is that it covered every single skill. And a lot of people still, just like what they said in Abilene, we want to know how to teach the skill. You know, it's funny as how do you unteach someone who's been doing it for 7 years? Maybe that's a big question. Rick's gonna
Interesting
take it.
stuff for sure. Hey, Ruth, before we close though, you never answered my question.
Which one?
The
Have I
one,
ever been
the one
buzzed?
where you were talking about the extended buzz. I just wanted to know if you've ever had an extended buzz.
I heard it, Mick. I heard it.
Heard it too, and I said I've been extended buzz many times, but today you had to check me on my feet because one, John went off as host. We went on host ourselves. I didn't have internet connection problems. I had to change some graphics. I had to spotlight. And Bob is worried about being the number one to put buzz reaction background. And
Right.
Mick's got it. And Brian, you haven't learned yet to do it.
I just want everybody to know there's a complimentary segment going on between all of us. That's all.
Oh, that's
Hey, we were going to spend some time talking about assistant coaches, but I thought Molly and
Here
Tim
you go.
really-
We have 1 minute left and you're starting to talk. You
Yeah.
almost did this last. You have 30
So-
seconds.
So give me a second to talk, will you?
No, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Filibuster. It's a
Well, I
filibuster.
thought those guys really addressed the assistant position
Yes.
pretty well. I mean,
Yes.
we didn't need to spend 15 minutes talking about, because I think they really, hit on the most important points. The work ethic, the loyalty, I just think they did a great job with some of those things.
Yes.
Okay, well, our time is up and thanks for joining us today on Buzz Extended. And Bob is still doing Buzz Reaction. For those coaches that are interested in our consulting services, please go directly to our website, www.volleyballmastercoaches.com. Click on the contact form and we look forward to customizing an in-person or virtual clinic for you. A very big shout out to those guests and viewers over the 67 weeks. 2021 ABCA Convention, Columbus, Ohio, December 15th. You can jump over to abcaconvention.org to register today. Be sure to tell your friends. If you guys have some friends, you should tell your friends on your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram Master Coaches to join us next week. And we will see you next week on the Buzz.